What's up, Rockstars? Today I'm going to get myself in trouble probably by talking about a sensitive subject. Now, before I do that, though, let's go ahead and thank my patrons and YouTube members, because this type of video is definitely thanks to their financial support. And that's because I don't have to please any game company, that I can talk freely about the industry, so you get my honest opinion, and not my wallet's opinion, or worse, some company's opinions, because I don't take any money from any game developer ever. So if you appreciate that, and you can support down below via the link to my Patreon, or join the YouTube membership. I do greatly appreciate it. Trust me, it's what makes videos like this possible. Additionally, if you can't, that's fine too. I understand, not everybody can go and financially support some person on YouTube that's doing something that they might like. And I understand that position plenty. Or maybe you just don't feel like it, or you don't like it. It doesn't matter. A like, a subscribe, or even just a comment saying that this video was helpful, or any kind of thing like that, definitely does help. I do these videos for the industry, for the community, for you guys. And so that helps me out a ton as well. All right. With that out of the way, I'm going to go ahead and do, I guess, some blanket statements, so that when somebody invariably looks at like the structure of how I spoke and like, what did you mean, that you can know that they're full of BS, because I'm saying right now what my intention is, so they could strip, the words from the message to try and skew it however they want, but you guys know what the message is. And that's that I love people. Okay. I don't know if you've noticed or not, but I do a lot for the community here. I am always in the comments for hours on end. I am always over there on Facebook talking. I am always in my Discord. You can ask any of my patrons how many hours I spend on Discord every single day. It's insane. It's probably unhealthy. I love this community, and I love the people in it. So let's not go around, like trying to make something that is not actually the case. I am all about people, and that's kind of the whole point of this video, is I want people to be treated nicely. And sadly, we have Isaac here in the Frosthaven update treating some people badly. So I'm going to go ahead and call him out on that. And I do want to state why I'm calling out him in the first place. And that's because I have received my own cultural training, actually, several times. Many times I've attended meetings and projects and whole I don't know what, courses on how to be accommodating to other people, right? Especially people dissimilar from yourself. Right? Now, often we look at race or gender or anything like that as dissimilar, but it could just be somebody with a different opinion. Which actually I've even had some courses on that, specifically like, political opinions. Like, how do you deal with being a staunch Democrat and then with somebody on your team at work being a staunch Republican? Cause that kind of stuff comes up. How do you guys interact with each other? And the whole point is you can like people and love people that have different opinions than your own. It is possible. I promise. So with that, one of the best courses that I had was one where it talked about speaking up and calling people out when they're jerks. So for instance, I had two women on the team that were I'm a technical software developer, and so they were software developers too. And let's say I'm in a meeting with 10 people, and one of them starts saying what they think. I think blah blah, and they start going in, and then some dude comes over and just overtalks them, right? Just yeah, and it just overtakes the whole thing, right? Happens all the time. They call that mansplaining often, but it could be a whole host of other issues underlying there. And everybody that doesn't call out that guy in that meeting is complacent in it and helps propagate it. Where the proper thing to do is, hey, excuse me, you need to sit down and be quiet. She was talking. Let's hear what she had to say first, right? That's the whole point, is that's what people need to be doing. And that's what I want to do here. Now, a lot of people don't like to touch these kind of subjects, and I get that. That's one of the things I'm very thankful of for this channel, is that I can freely do stuff like that. So I'm going to go ahead and call Isaac out on a few things here. And if you didn't know, this is Frosthaven. Isaac Childres, I don't know how to pronounce names or words, but anyway, update 80 talks about essentially hiring this James guy as a cultural consultant for the work on that. Now, I'm gonna go into detail. This is really a two-part video, where the first part is me criticizing Isaac for how he speaks to people that disagree with him, And then the other part is actually me diving into this and saying why I disagree with his decisions in this, but it's probably not what you think. So feel free to skip, even if you don't want to hear me yell at Isaac, go ahead and skip to that part, because I don't, if you're assuming that I'm just going to be some crazy angry person, you're going to be wrong. That's not the case indeed. I feel like it's a missed opportunity for him to do far better work than what he thinks he's doing. So, anyway, I'm going to skip over most of that for now. I'll maybe bring up a few key points, but the real interesting part is after all of this, he says, and make sure to read this. So I'm going to go ahead and read this section right here, and then I'm going to discuss. So he says, and finally, I recognize there may be some small percentage of you. Now, of course, the small percentage is an assumption there, but he's assuming that only a small percentage of people are going to be this way, that will be upset by these developments. You are more than welcome to your own opinions, but voicing those opinions in the comments in a combative, disruptive, or derogatory way is not okay. Now, I don't know how you can be disruptive. If you're talking about the subject, you're not being disruptive. You're actively talking about the subject. It's always weird when people say disruptive because it's such a loose term. I'll get back on that in just a moment. I would encourage you to simply reach out to support@silafor.com and request a full refund if you feel strongly enough about it. We've already done that for a couple people who didn't think Black Lives Matter, and we'd be happy to do it again for people who don't think board games should be a safe space for everyone. If you do feel the need to comment, I ask that you do with all sincerity to be respectful. It is a simple thing, but it is super important to us, and we will use all the tools we have to make sure this place does remain safe and respectful. So, I'm talking about 2 points here. One is censorship of other opinions, and the other one is just being a condescending jerk. So, this right here, he should have never written. Ideally, he has some kind of person that, as a public relations, that would realize how rude he's being to people and scratch that part out. So he's just secretly rude, but we don't know publicly how rude he is. So it's weird that he talks about here using the word races and describing a race where he's reinforcing the concept of broad racial stereotypes. All Enochs are proud and stubborn. All Quartos are hardworking and helpful. And he's talking about how you can't just generalize like that, right? And then he comes over here at the very end and says, oh, if you disagree with this, right, then you must not think that board games should be a safe space for everyone. If I'm worried that it's going to be watered down, or I'm worried that he's not going to do what he should be doing with the story, then I must not think that board games should be a safe space for everyone. He's generalizing. It's so easy to point to other things and fix that instead of focusing on yourself. And that's unfortunate. So he spends this whole thing focusing on his creation, Frosthaven, trying to make Frosthaven as kind to people as it can, and as non-generalizing as it can, as non-stereotyping as he can. But he's not focused on himself, where he thinks that anybody who has a different opinion must just be against him. Now, the world is not black and white, Isaac. I'm sorry if you thought otherwise, but there's a lot of gray in this world, and every problem is more complex than you first think it is. So I can disagree with what you said up here, and I'll talk about why. But it does not mean that I don't think board games should be safe for everyone. That's just you being condescending. And that's just you being kind of a jerk. And so I am going to call you out on that. That's not okay to do. It's the same thing with this. You can think something other than yourself and still think that black people matter. It's not a hard concept to grasp. It's a very childish way of looking at things where, if you don't think the same way I do, then you must be this way. That's just silly. Nobody's like that. Let's grow up a little bit and actually realize that not everybody is a bad person if they disagree with me. This whole channel is all about opinions, and I speak a lot of opinions, and you guys might not, when I go and talk about all of this stuff, and I'll talk about it, but I think I have a good point here, but if you might disagree with me, and that's fine. That's totally fine. And I don't think that if you disagree with me that you're, blank. I'm not going to label you something. You're you and you're what you think. So this whole part here where it's, hey, if you feel strongly enough about it, we're just going to ask you to not be a customer. And also we're just going to assume that you don't think board games should be a safe space for everyone. That's a real jerk move, Isaac. Don't be a jerk to people. Okay? Be nice. Okay? If you're going to focus this much, if you're going to hire this guy James to look at how kindly you look at races, how about you hire somebody to see how kindly you treat your customers, even if you're asking them to not be your customer. Okay, let's be nicer than that, please. And maybe work on maturing your concept of others and their opinions. And I get it. It's like, it's really hard to do, right? Because there are some things where you can see something and then say, oh, blank, that's your opinion. And then somebody else says something like, okay, well, I can see why you think that. And then there are some, and it's amazing how wonderfully diverse people are, right? That you can see something and they can see something and they have something completely, they have the opposite reaction of you. And you're thinking, how can you think that way? How can you possibly think that way? Like, obviously it's blank. And they say, no, obviously it's amazing, but it's also amazing to me, I guess, and I don't know how old Isaac is, but it's amazing to me how many adults can't grasp that just because you can't even fathom how that person thinks doesn't mean that their opinion is worse, or that their opinion is something that you need to be rude about or reject or anything like that. It's their opinion. So let's actually be welcoming. If you want the board game space to be safe for everyone, then don't put a little asterisk that says, unless I disagree with you. Right? If you say you have an open table, but then you also say, oh, but you also don't think Black Lives Matter because you disagree with me on subject blank, and that blankets everything you think about black people, then that's really rather pathetic. Okay, so let's actually be welcoming. Let's not be hypocrites here, where we're so focused on whether we call Power Rocks a race, and then label everybody who disagrees with me on this as somebody who doesn't think that board games should be a safe space for everyone. That's just silly, okay? I think board games should be a safe space for everyone. I think you should still call Power Rocks race. Let's go and discuss that now. Alright, so I've recorded this a few times now, and I just want to make sure that I am talking about exactly what I want to talk about, not getting into the weeds too much. I tend to ramble, you guys know that. So here's attempt number 3 on this. I guess really what I wanted to point out is that there was a lot of talk here about not wanting to, using this guy James, to not have any real world cultures and derived from it, or that you could draw parallels to. And blanket statement, I think that's a missed opportunity, right? X-Men is famous for being representative of gay people, gay teens especially. It's all about finding who you are, discovering that you're something that society shuns and all this. That's where X-Men got its start. I think that's great. I think that's cool that you can use your creation and draw a parallel to make something, said, right? You can actually use it for something more than just a story about superheroes, right? I think that's awesome. I think that's great that you can draw a direct parallel to that. I played a video game, Spec Ops: The Line. It was based kind of off of Apocalypse Now, which more of you are probably familiar with. But it's very much a game about shooting people, right? It's a first-person shooter. But then, slowly over time, the loading screen starts saying, hey, you've killed this many people. Do you feel like a hero now? Right? And it really starts making you think, like, what are we actually glorifying here? It's literally known as being a purposefully generic shooter. The whole point is it's not a super exceptional. And that's kind of the whole point. It's like, why do you get entertainment out of this? As a game that's trying to give you entertainment out of it, right? It's that very cool kind of meta look at something that really drives it home and really makes that message powerful, right? Where you're sitting there and being like, why is this entertaining? What am I getting out of this? And then it talks about, all sorts of PTSD and stuff like that, and war and what that does to the psychology, and like it deep dives, and you can do that kind of stuff, but you don't have to. You can just make, you can make Teletubbies if you want. I don't care. It doesn't matter. It's just, I guess I would say that there's some great opportunity there. Dragon Age Origins. If any of you play Dragon Age, especially the first one, you know that tough choices can be there because that's real world, right? That if you're left picking a leader of the dwarfs, and one is a racist bigot and the other one is a murderer. There you go. Do you want one that will close off the dwarves as a society to the outside world and make them more racist and more bigoted? Or do you pick the guy that will take them to accept other cultures and stuff like that, but he also has no problem killing people? Pick. That's the whole point. It's just that gray area. It's that amazing conundrum that storytellers can get you in, where you discuss these kind of things, where it's like, what does matter more to me there? Which one's worse? Do you pick the worst person or the worst person for the society? Is there a difference, right? It's very cool that you can do stuff like that in a creation of yours. But maybe Isaac doesn't want to do that, and that's fine. Maybe he wants to do something a lot more, a lot less telling than that, and that's fine too. He certainly can. I think it's a missed opportunity. My biggest thing here, I think, is actually the use race. He's saying they're not going to use race because people will draw parallels to humans to where they'll think that a black person and a white person is different as a squishy human and a pile of rocks, and that's just false. I don't know anybody that's doing that. I don't know anybody who's saying that. If there is a person, are you sure you're not just listening to the small percentage of people that are saying that? I think by and large, most people are just picking a rock dude versus a person. Or a lizard man versus a cat lady, or like a feline person, like cats or something like that. I was thinking Skyrim. Anyway, my point is that one of the best things, I think, and this is kind of what I was talking about, where like you have the opportunity to make things better and you're shying away from it. I think that's unfortunate. I love sci-fi, and one of the reasons I think sci-fi is so cool is because it normally takes place in the future, and all humans are considered a race. I think that's awesome. You're not in like the race selection screen and you're picking black dude, white dude, yellow dude, brown dude. Like, you're not doing that, right? You're picking human, orc, dwarf, amoeba, right? Like, whatever it might be. And we're all the same. And then you pick skin color, but that's not the race you pick, right? That's just the looks of that race. One race of people, of humans. And I think that's awesome. I think that's so cool. Fantasy does it a lot too, right? Normally orc and trolls and elves and humans. And that's, again, I think it's great. It's great that it makes us all one. And you have the opportunity to do that. I'm sure you were. And so you have the opportunity to call all humans one race of people. And you're not going to do that because you're afraid that people are going to think that rock people and squishy humans are the same as black people and white people. That's so unfortunate. I think that's a missed opportunity. You could do better by actually doubling down on that whole thing, right? Like, if you really want to make a difference, you can really push the envelope. You're the one writing the story. You're the one creating the setting in the world and all that. But the problem is we're so shy about even touching the subject that we can't then do better in it, right? We can't even discuss it. And I think that's unfortunate. So that's, I mean, the rest is, whatever. It's fine. It's just unfortunate that I think we're getting rid of something good. I think it's great that we refer to all humans as one race. I think that's awesome. And it's unfortunate that we're dropping that because we're afraid that people will see a pile of rocks as a black person or a white person. If they're going to see that, it's because they're racist, and they're going to see that no matter what. There's nothing really you can do about it. Whether you call them a race or not, that's semantics, right? That's just the word choice. It's just the power behind the word you're choosing. That has nothing to do with, the actual meat and potatoes of it, right? So if somebody's going to view the rock people as black people, they're going to do it whether you call them a race of rock people or not, right? Like, that's not what's triggering them. It's not your word of race that's triggering that. That's the problem in their head of seeing that. Unless you purposely made them that to try and tell a grander story of something, which you can do if you want. You can draw that parallel. Like I said, X-Men equals gays. Now that's changed, right? And that's fine. And X-Men has represented really any group of people that have been, marginalized or feel like they don't belong or whatever. But the original intent, that was the whole thing. And you're on YouTube watching this anyway. You can go Google, search for it, and you'll find people who've done documentaries, who've done interviews, who've done all this stuff. It's cool that they did that, I think. And you could even do that with a race here if you wanted to. But don't pretend to think that you're at fault because somebody's going to think that. If they're thinking that, it ain't because you call them a race. It's because they're racist, right? I mean, that's just... Don't blame yourself for that. That's not you putting it there. That's on them. And it's unfortunate that it's kind of watering it down a little bit there. And do I find it ironic that you're playing a game where you're trying to kill people efficiently as possible using your cards, while at the same time making sure that you don't call somebody a certain race? Yes, it is weird how, I don't know if Isaac is American or not, but typically here in America, we view violence as nothing But then when it comes to like, you know, any kind of gender subject or sexual subject or anything like that, we're very shy about it. Now, if you want to go behead that guy and get plus 2 XP so you can level up and then loot his dead corpse and get some items, sweet, good on you. But don't call that pile of rocks a race, because that's bad. Right? So yes, it's ironic that we glorify murder. It's ironic that Isaac has this whole conversation where he's talking about whether we call humans a race or not, while at the same time making a game where your objective is to kill people. Yes, very ironic. Very, very ironic indeed. That's just how it is. Because at the end of the day, we all choose different things, right? At the end of the day, we all choose how much we care. One of my favorite quotes is from Tolstoy. He was a Russian author and poet. And the quote essentially goes, everybody thinks they're changing the world, but nobody thinks they're changing themselves. In other words, it's easier to point and say, you're bad, you need to fix that, hey, you got something in your eye there, and not focus on the dust in your own eye, right? To bring it to a Bible parable saying the same thing. It's so much easier to point at Frosthaven and say, oh, I can improve this here, oh, I can improve this here, oh, I can improve this here, and not focus on your own issue, where you talk badly about other people. The most ironic thing in this whole thing is how he talks about generalizing a group of people. All Enochs are proud or stubborn. All Quartles are hardworking and helpful, and he says that that's bad, right? But then he's saying all people who wanted a refund don't think Black Lives Matter. And all people who are commenting against this don't think this is a safe space, or that gaming should be a safe space. He is doing exactly what he's talking against. And that's because he's focused on what he's creating and not his own self, right? We're all guilty of that at some point. So I'm not, it sucks that Isaac, you did this publicly. It really does. It's not fun. I know it's not. Okay. I put my own foot in my mouth. I'm not perfect, right? I'm not. I've made mistakes. I've probably misspoken here in this video. It happens. My intentions remain that I want you to treat your customers better. I want people to treat other people better. And I want people to be more welcoming of people, even, God forbid, they disagree on us on something. So while I disagree on this because I feel it's a missed opportunity, and I feel like you're reading into things more than what the other people actually are. Again, I don't think people are looking at rock people and thinking, oh my gosh, they're blacks. That's just silly, right? But apparently you're concerned about that, or at least James is, but it's James's job to tell you how important that is. He would not have a job if he went and told people don't worry about it. Nobody thinks that way, right? I mean, I'm sure James wants a job too. He wants to get paid. And that's really all I wanted to say here. So just be nice, guys. Come on. Let's get with it. If he wants to do this, oh, that's what he's going to do. Do I agree with it? No, I don't. I think, again, it's very unfortunate. I want, if I'm going to be given choices, I want them to be interesting choices and tough choices and choices that make me, okay, so, Storm Thunder. I called Storm Thunder essentially it's like a BioWare game. One of the coolest and the most interesting characters there is the priest lady, right? Because she has these like really religious views of what's right and wrong. And then she's constantly put in the like a greater scheme of things, right? How bad is it going to be, right? And then, you know, like this needs to be stopped at all costs. But then it's like, well, I need to go get to this thing, but there's some people here. And they were saying, no, you can't, and we'll fight you if you try. And they're innocent. So what do? Do you kill them? Do you not? Do you just let the world burn because you're not willing to kill? Or do you do that? Like, it's those kind of conundrums, right, that make her so interesting. It's interesting to see if she slowly slides further and further from the black and white world that she lived in, or whether she gets more and more corrupted, or whether she gets more and more zealous, or, you know, like, it's fascinating stuff. It's interesting stuff. And it's stuff that, you know, touches on stuff like religion and race and all this kind of stuff, right? And I think that's awesome. I think it's a great opportunity for these amazing storytellers to tell these amazing stories and make them you as a player really kind of figure out, what do I care about? What do I think? How do I feel about that? So I'm a Babylon 5 fan. One of the hardest episodes there is an episode called Believers. And what it is, and it's hard to watch. Essentially, this alien race has this son. So this mother and father alien has this son alien, and he has something wrong internally in his organs. And the doctor's like, okay, we'll have surgery. We'll go fix it. If we don't fix it, your son will die. But we gotta get in there and fix it. When the aliens hear that they would have to open him up to do that, they say, no way. His soul would escape and he'd be, a soulless husk at that point. You cannot open up. And so their religious views are saying, no, you cannot operate. If he dies, then that's just what he dies, but his soul will be intact and live on forever and blah, blah, blah. And the doctor's saying, I gotta save this boy. I can't help but not, right? And then imagine you're the doctor, player choice. What do you do now, right? Do you side with him or do you not? Oh my gosh, that kind of stuff is so awesome, right? But that's touching on some heavy stuff. That's a direct parallel to some real crap here in the world, right? There are Christians right now that believe that God heals, not medicine, and that they won't vaccinate their kids or they won't do this or won't do that. Now, whether you think that's right or wrong, that's a real thing. And now they're using that as a story, and it's fascinating. It's interesting. You make that the alien, so then you're done. Well, okay, well maybe alien souls, or maybe aliens do have souls, and I don't know. Like what I don't, it's so great as a writer and as a creator to be able to make real tough things that reflect life. Not only that, but it's hard to not reflect something, right? He talks about like colonizing and occupation and stuff like that, and whether that's good or whether that's bad, and like there's a lot of stuff there, and it's unfortunate that you aren't willing to really push it into those kind of areas, right? Touch on religion, touch on race, touch on anything you want. I think that's awesome. Do that. One of the great things about being able to write something where the player chooses is you get to write both sides, and then nobody gets to even know which side you would have picked, right? I don't know. What would Isaac do? Would Isaac operate on the child or not, right? The story in the show goes that the doctor feels very strongly he has to save this boy's life, so he does the operation against their will, and then when they get the boy back, they sacrifice him because he was a soulless husk at that point. So the boy dies either way. Right, that's why it's hard to watch, because and then of course the doctor's distraught, and he's stuck in this position where he's just trying to do the right thing and trying to save a life, but then it's rough, and that's what's so awesome. Oh my gosh, I want that in, like, it's time for board games to move on past the baby stages, right? Let's get serious in here. Let's put some stuff in there. Isaac, if you care about societal things, put that in your story. Go for it. Let's do it. Let's go for it. Right? That's awesome. And like I said, as a creator, you give it even more freedom when you give them player choice, because then the player gets to decide, and you get to write the both sides of it. Right? So if somebody thought that, and maybe they thought right, or maybe they thought wrong, or whatever, it's great. It really, really is an awesome opportunity that you're kind of wasting. So yes, I disagree with that. And no, just because I disagree with you wasting that opportunity does not mean that I don't think games should be a safe space for everyone. Of course it should be. What kind of craziness is that? Now, I'll tell you what, if somebody is very averse to violence, right, they're not going to like your game, because your game is full of violence. It's full of killing, right? If my dad had been, killed brutally, and I was very sensitive to that, I'm going to hate your game. It's going to touch too close to a real world scenario, which is violence, and violence on the innocent, or violence in war. What if my dad died in a war? Well, now suddenly you're talking about all this stuff. So you're talking about you're talking about real world stuff, no matter what. You choose how to deal with it. You choose how to do it. Ideally, that's with a great way. And ideally, that's with a way where you don't feel a little bit above everybody else, where you demand that they be respectful or they'll be censored, and then you be disrespectful right back. Don't use the power you have here on Kickstarter to be rude like that. Let's all be nice. Let's all just enjoy these cool narrative branching story path games, and love them for what they are, which is having a great time. Because at the end of the day, that's what I'm all about. I want to spend time with my friends and family around a board game and enjoy their company and live life without staring at a cell phone all my life. And that's what I want. So hopefully this cut made it. Again, my kids have been a little loud, and I feel important that I stay on topic here and really kind of discuss things with you guys, because it's important, right? It's important for people in the industry to be respectful, and it's important to not. It's You know, like I said, it's no different than when you're in like a meeting and a woman starts explaining something, a guy overtalks her, right? It's like, no, you should call that person out. That's the whole point. The whole problem is when the whole group doesn't and everyone just lets him talk over her. No, call it out. Say, hey, she was saying something. Don't just overtalk her. You know, like that's the whole point, right? Is you call out when people do this. And it's not because you're like, and I hope you get hit by a car and die. Like, it's not mean-spirited. It's just calling out rude behavior and making it to where it is more inviting, on regardless of your beliefs, that it is more inviting, that we're all here to play board games. And some of us might think one way, some of us might think a different way, and that's fine. So anyway, I would love to hear your comments on this. Go and let me know in the comments below. I would love to read and discuss with you. Just don't be a jerk to other people in this situation. Okay, let's be nice. Okay. So anyway, that's it. That's all I had to say. I hope you have a great rest of your day. I know I plan to as well, and I can't wait to talk to you guys again about a better issue than this. So nobody, if you're on Kickstarter right now as a developer, please don't write an update where you yell at people who might disagree with you and be rude to them. Like, don't do that. I don't want to make another video like this. I'll just start calling you out rapid fire, I guess, at that point. Like, be nice. Let's all be nice. And you guys too. Like, be nice back. All right. Anyway, much love to all you guys. I'll talk to you guys again really, really soon.